What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kinda Funny Video Game Club for Moonlighter in the month of July. It's July, that's right. How are you? This is episode 4 if you're keeping track. I'm Greg Miller, and for the next however long it takes, I will be here to do the Moonlighter Club with you. Of course, I assume you know, and maybe you don't, but let's run through it. The Kinda Funny Video Game Club, of course, is a perk of being a patron of patreon.com/kindafunnygames. You give us $1, you get an exclusive show most of the time. I do want to touch base, obviously. So what happens is we put up over on YouTube or patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Hey, this is what's going to be the thing. And then you put in questions, and then we all have a good time, and you review games, and you do all this different stuff. We've been bad, obviously. June was E3, so we totally got off track and didn't end up doing one. And then on top of that, we missed one somewhere in there as well, I noticed, because when I went to gather the Moonlighter questions, I was looking through, of course, some of the comments you guys had left, and I had seen a few people be like, oh, what the fuck happened to Days Gone? Which I don't even remember saying. And I saw, I think most of the people who were talking about it be like, oh, well, it sucks that they didn't do Days Gone in May, or what would have been June, right, or whatever. But they didn't do it in episode 3 because Greg didn't like Days Gone. It wasn't so much that I didn't like Days Gone. So many people were like, the Video Game Club should be able to be critical of the game and have a discussion and so on and so forth. I 100% agree with you. That's not what happened. What happened was, much like the comic book club for around E3, we totally got buried in work and this slipped off the radar. And then on top of that, it was, if I was going to do the last video game club, it would have been continued to be punted and delayed. And I was the problem of it. And I also don't think I remember ever saying Days Gone, so I didn't even put it on the calendar everywhere, so we didn't even know what game we were talking about. So that's why they did Katana Zero last time. They did a great job about it. Now, on top of that, many of you pointed out, hey, the Katana Zero video game club didn't get an MP3. Yep. Turns out, yeah, it's just a lot of things happen here, and we make so many shows. People, there's always concern. Is it an MP3? And then also, is it live? So sometimes we fuck up, and this is definitely one of them. As you know, the Video Game Club was added to the Patreon menu of events, right? When we had the comic book club over on patreon.com/kindafunny. It did so well there. We were like, all right, cool. Now we're going to change it over. And then we changed everything over in January and we took away the $1 tier. And then people were like, that's a bullshit decision. And we're like, you know what? That is a bullshit decision. And so instead of moving the comic book club way up in the Patreon tiers, we'll leave it at 1, but we'll give you one over on games as well, which is what we did. And we are still learning on the game side how to do it. Barrett, what do you have to say over there? You're getting fired up. You're dancing around.
Katana Zero was definitely my bad.
So you're willing to take the pay cut?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, but my mic was muted. But yeah, Katana Zero was my fault because I didn't know that there was an MP3 version needed.
This is honestly, this is one of the reasons I wanted, and I'm not at all. I love the Video Game Club, and I want it to be other people. I'll tell you right now. Next month is on the books already. It is Mario Maker 2. It is. I think it's Barrett and Andy and Tim maybe, but it's whoever wants to get involved. Just played a lot of Mario Maker.
And I will say, because I did look back because when we did the Katana Zero one, people were like, "What about Days Gone?" I did go back to the episode before that. I forgot what it was. Probably some division. At the end, you were like, it'll probably be Days Gone, but you didn't put actual.
We're gonna be better about that. We're confirming Mario Maker now. Okay, cool. I think after that even. Well, I don't want to even get. Well, Jesus, June now. It's August. So it's July now. So then August is gonna be Mario Maker. What is the actual? I have to imagine September's Borderlands. I'm not going to confirm that. What's the date on Borderlands? It's the teens, right?
Let me look.
Because that would make sense. That there'll be enough time for you to play it, listener/viewer, and us to do it.
Borderlands 3 is.
Barrett's checking.
September 13th.
Yeah, then we're going to definitely do that.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm also doing this. Cool Greg, can you make an MP3 of the Katana Zero Video Game Club? So anyways, I was making a point that I got sidetracked on. It's the end of the day. We're having a good time. I'm having a lot of coffee. I actually took a nap a second ago. Felt great. So I'm going to get you the Katana Zero MP3. We'll add it back to the last Video Game Club post. So it's not like it's going to get a new post. You want to get a notification about it. But if you search, and also I see you aren't even complaining about it. I'm complaining about it that we're also really bad at using tags on Patreon, where I go to search for old shit and it's not tagged. And I'm like, God damn it. And I got to go search. We're going to get better about that and all that stuff. To the Video Game Club, though, I love the idea of that more and more people get to do it and we get to pass it around. However, that then it also, I feel, doesn't have the unified vision of what the comic book club does, right? It's Greg's comic book club. So I know that, hey, I want to make sure I have these tags and I want the thumbnail to look like this. And I know, of course, there needs to be a video and an MP3. And even when we fuck up tags over there, it's because I had to pass the baton. Basically, the Patreon $1 shows, I saw somebody say on the Katana Zero thing, like, if they're not a priority to you, you should just get rid of them. I understand that reasoning, and it's not that they're not a priority to us, right? It's just that there's it's not that they're not a priority. It's just the everyday content that has to happen. And then when we're trying to do seasonal stuff, like we've been doing all the PlayStation VR shows, as I hope you know, because if you're well, I guess if you're a dollar person, you wouldn't know. But it doesn't matter. We're filming PlayStation VR Season 2 right now, and those episodes keep getting punted around too, because that's all well and good, but with the sliding deadline, right? Like we don't want to go up and compete with other stuff, so we're moving them. We know all this. It's complicated. We're trying to juggle everything. It's not that this show doesn't matter to us or the $1 shows don't matter to us. It's just that they usually have the most leniency in when and where they go, so we can move them around. However, when we do that, or they forgotten, or worse yet, somebody moves them or forgets to move them, and then we think they're done because you're just not paying attention, and then you get there and you're like, oh shit, how is it month 7 and we only have 4 of these episodes? I digress. We fucked up. We're sorry. We're working on it. We're going to be better. Mario Maker 2 next month. It's already on the calendar. Nothing can possibly stop it. But enough about that, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Kind of Funny Video Game Club, episode 4. We're talking about Moonlighter. Of course, if this is a product of patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, tell your friends about it. You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, get it as a video, get it as an MP3. Moonlighter, developed by Digital Sun, released May 29th, 2018. The Switch, November 5th, 2018. I'm going to give you the description here as from the website, because I think they actually do the best job of recapping it. During an archaeological excavation, a set of gates were discovered. People quickly realized that these ancient passages led to different realms and dimensions. Rhinoka, a small commercial village, was found near the excavation site, providing brave and reckless adventurers with treasures beyond measure. Moonlighter is an action RPG with roguelite elements that demonstrates two sides of the coin, revealing everyday routines of Will, an adventurous shopkeeper that secretly dreams of becoming a hero. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we would be remiss if at the very top of the show we did not give a round of applause to Katie Gallagher. Of course, if it wasn't for Katie going to the Kind of Funny subreddit saying, this is a Greg Miller ass game, I have no idea why Greg Miller has not talked about it, I would have never picked up Moonlighter. And here we are now. As you know, when I do these things, and it's possible, I like to give you stats, give you a glimpse of where I'm at with this game. According to the Switch, I'm more than 15 hours into the game. I am currently on Dungeon 3, which of course means I have not rolled credits. Not that this is, there's some, I think actually Katie comes up to talk about the ending here a little bit, but your reviews when we get to them, I'm not pulling punches, I'm reading ahead, it doesn't matter. This is, for me, isn't a story-driven game. I'm on Dungeon 3, however, I think that plays into what I was saying about this game, right? When I started playing it, is that I was being really OCD about it, and I continue to be really OCD about it, where I'm in no hurry to finish Moonlighter. I love what I'm playing. I'm excited for the DLC. DLC's out right now on PC. It just dropped this week as of I'm recording this, even though this should be pretty relatively soon. And I'm excited for the DLC. I want to get back to it, but I am being really Greg Miller about playing this game and doing it. What I mean by that, of course, is that I've already unlocked all the town investments. I could probably beat Dungeon 3 if I wanted to right now. My shop is at stage 3. If for some reason you're here to hear about games and you haven't played Moonlighter, there's 4 versions of the shop you can unlock with the gold you're getting. However, I have all the beds, I have all the registers in terms of upgrades for my shop. So my shop's fucking pimped out and kicking it, guys. And I'm making a load of money, but then I'm turning it right back around and investing in better weapons, right? I'm investing in with the banker stuff that he's doing there. I'm going in there and I'm getting the better stuff and I'm selling it. And I love, here's the deal. We're into it, right? I love Moonlighter. Moonlighter, again, Katie, I'll never be able to thank you enough for pointing this game out to me, because I have no idea how it passed me by. I guess it's just a busy release window, and this is what we talk about with indie games, right? May 29th, 2018, I guess there was other stuff going on. Obviously, we're in the build-up to E3, let alone some summer games that were coming out back then. You figure Switch November 5th, yeah, November, holiday season, there's a lot going on. It would be easy, I guess, to overlook this as we were gearing up for Smash and things of that nature. But holy shit, what a game. And if you haven't played it, you haven't looked at it, right? I highly recommend you doing that. No one's over there to run a trailer. That'd be helpful. Barrett! See if anybody comes back to do it while I talk about it. Because of course you're a little guy. You're running across your maps. You're doing your dodge rolls. You're using whatever weapons you want. There's a slew of different weapons to use. I myself, a short sword and shield man. I'm a sword and shield dude. I never deviated from that. And then I stuck with the bow and arrow too. So I could get in. I could do it. When annoying guys came at me, I could defend against them. And then when I had people from away, I could shoot the arrows and get them from back there. Beautiful little art style. Cute graphics, simple graphics, but beautiful, I think, in that respect. But beyond the visuals of it, I thought the gameplay was not only approachable enough, enjoyable enough, right? In the way that I've played so many, I always talk about this, and I know I'm a broken record for people who listen to us, but like Rogue Legacy for me was the perfect rogue-like, right? Or roguelite. Rogue game, basically. Where, you die, you leave the dungeon, you come back, and you're able to invest your money and come back stronger. I feel so many games don't do that, right? It's a turn off to me with Spelunky. Titan Souls was similar. I enjoyed, but it didn't click for me in the exact same way. I felt like just going up against the bosses wasn't enough for me. Insert whatever other roguelite I'm thinking of here. What? The one from Edward McMullen. You know what I'm talking about. God, I can't. The Crybaby one. Not Dear Esther. That's what's stuck in my head. You know exactly what it is, everybody. Fuck, don't make me look it up. I'm looking it up. And this is why I have a computer in front of me. Oh, it's been a long week, Hold on. Edmund, right? Edmund. Do that. I'm doing this. I'm clicking over there. The Binding of Isaac. Fuck, why? I know that game, obviously. I'm just brain dead at this point. I like the idea of being able to reinvest in it. I want the action to feel really good. I don't want to feel like it's pixel accuracy for jumps. I don't want to feel like I'm having superimposing odds. And that's what a Moonlighter didn't have for me, right? I felt for sure, okay, these enemies are really tough. But not only the genius of this idea, right? Of like, you are a shopkeep in town, and that night you have to moonlight and go out and be an adventurer. Even though I think their whole like thing of like, you dream of being an adventurer. Like, you're an adventurer, no, you know what I mean? Like, there's one old man in the town who's like, oh man, don't do this. You shouldn't do that. You're fucking kicking ass, and everybody knows it. Going out there and playing, hey, Barrett, there you are. Can you run a trailer for Moonlighter, some gameplay while I talk over it? Going into these dungeons, right? Hacking away at it, meeting new creatures, seeing new things, learning the rules of it, right? Of like, oh, here's the healing pond, which means I'm getting close to endgame. To go in and read the notes and find out little things of like, when you get to the third level of this dungeon, if you look for this in the left corner, there's gonna be a secret for you to go get. So awesome, and it kept me guessing and it kept me entertained. On top of the gameplay itself being simple to understand and then not difficult to master, but a challenge, right? Where it's like learning when to dodge roll and how to get through obstacles that way. Learning when to use the shield, right? Like, I get so fucking annoyed with the little blob characters. I felt like I had it down to a science with certain guys I was fighting, right? When you get to like Plant World and that dude shooting stuff at you, it was so hard to figure it out. And then learning the, not AI, but like what each one of the little monsters is going to do, understanding how to beat that monster, and then moving forward to how, okay, now I have that monster, I have a new monster, and I have another old monster to fight. Learning the balance and the dance of how to engage with them and take them down, all so well done. And then the idea, right, of, okay, cool, I'm collecting my wares from there, jump out of it, get killed, or take what you have in your pockets, or about to get killed, finally panic, use the amulet to get out, which is usually how I did it. Get to the shop, put everything down, and then have to start guessing prices and have people come in and go off their facial expressions on if you raise the price or you lower the price, trying to figure out what you need to keep for everything you're going to upgrade. It's two different games, obviously, in terms of how you're running your shop versus how you're going and attacking it. But both are so well done with quality of life stuff that I think so many other games would have fucked up in the way of grabbing a stack of items or moving one of them. Being in a box and just clicking your shoulder button, sending everything over to your inventory or vice versa. When I go to the blacksmith and I'm like, yep, I want to work on that next level shield, marking it for wish list, and then anytime I get an item that is actually needed for it, seeing the star, and then, okay, I'm going to put that in my chest and forget about it, right? On top of that, it goes so much deeper with that, right? Of like sleeping and like why would you ever sleep, right? Just to advance time, sure, but like the third advancement in the bed gives you extra health, and that was the thing of when I was getting into certain battles, and it was like, man, this is tough. It was, okay, cool. I know I need to work on upgrading my weapons, but then also I know that this game is going to give me something around the bend to make me more powerful, whether it be, you know, the ability to actually have armor on as you upgrade your weapons or your armor, or if it is, of course, going to sleep in the special bed and coming out with the permanent 3 shields that give you even more damage. Bear, feel free to play it whenever you want to. We're just running some footage here in case you are a Johnny-come-lately and haven't seen it at all. Well, I've been talking for a while. Let's see what everybody else has to say. Katie, of course, the woman who made this all possible, wrote and said, overall, I loved this game, and even though I wish the gameplay for the ending and post-credits was more developed, I'd definitely still recommend it. The positives. Really satisfying game loop. And because you choose to warp out at any time and keep your items, a bad run doesn't feel like a total waste of time, even if you actually barely got the cost of your pendant back. Another great point too, yeah, right, of being able to go into this game, do some damage, especially in the early goings of any of the dungeons, go in and be like, you know what? I am not going to get deep into this, but I'm going to try to fill my pockets, fill my coffers, and then get out and sell it. And that was for me the loop of what you're talking about, Katie, and why I think it does work so well, right? Of coming out, selling stuff, getting some money, and investing it into more potions, investing it into the armor, investing it into the weapons, and then coming back in and doing it all over again. And having, for me, that incremental feeling of getting stronger and getting stronger and getting stronger, and then finally investing in that nicer sword and shield and coming in and somebody who, you know, I remember it taking me 3 or 4 hits, one hit, it feels so satisfying to have made that leap, right? Katie goes on, small quality of life things, like items remembering their last price, brilliant, right? Once you find that sweet spot price that you're happy with to put it in the store, bam, you just put it over there and they know it and they keep it and everything's great. Or going to their journal entry with one click, including mid-dungeon, or being able to wish list ingredients you need. Katie continues, you're not forced to keep the dungeon cycle. Once you have the savings, you can run the dungeon several times, dumping your stuff into your chest and going straight back out. Right, and for me, more importantly, and not even importantly, I guess, because I do like the selling mechanics, obviously, but 15 hours in or whatever, upgrading the shop to where I have an assistant where I can just give her all my stuff and she'll sell it all. Granted, she takes a cut, but at that point, I'm moving such volume of items, such... not exclusive, but high-end items that, like, what do I care? If I'm coming out with 70 grand after a day, you know, I only give her like 20 items or whatever. If she's turning that quick, great, I'm fine with that. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Katie continues, it works whether you only have 20 minutes for a single run or a whole evening to spend on it. Exactly. It's why I think I could have played this on PlayStation 4. I could have played it obviously on Xbox. I should point out, Xbox Game Pass right now, as of recording this week, it was on sale on everything. It's actually, I think, the free Epic game right now. Probably by the time this publishes, it was on sale on PSN. It was on sale on Switch. I think getting ready for that DLC for PC. But yeah, it's such a great Switch game in the way that I would play it on bus rides, and then I'd play it on the plane for hours on end, and then I'd play a little bit at work, and I'd come home and I'd plug it into the Switch dock and play it on my TV, which, if you know me, is super rare for me to come home and for most of my Switch experiences, with the notable exceptions, I think, of most Nintendo first party or Marvel Ultimate Alliance and now Moonlighter. That's not how I usually consume my Switch games, so yeah, great. Kitty says, love the music, especially the shop, agreed. She goes on to say new upgrades / abilities are staggered well, so they appear right when you start to get bored. For me, it wasn't when they get to bored, it was more like when you get not even annoyed, but when it's like, fuck, I wish I was making more progress. That's when I felt like I was to the next part of, I'm about to have it, I'm about to hit it, I'm about to get stronger and be able to get through this. Katie says, I like the overall story and the ending narrative twist. It helped give the game character without getting in the way. Parentheses, but there's a but in a second. She goes on, the negatives. The final dungeon and boss seemed underwhelming from a gameplay perspective, given the whole game is leading to it. I haven't gotten there, obviously, because I'm still taking my sweet ass time with this. For me personally, I don't see that being a problem. For me, I think all the bosses have been whatever. They're a thing you get to, and it's like, how do I do it? Okay, I figured out how to do it. I've done it, and now I move on to the next one. It's way, for me, more about the journey and that incremental thing of coming back to the enemies you've seen so many times that you get to clown out in 1 or 2 hits. She says something I don't have much eyesight on. Trophies / achievements. I'm playing on Game Pass. Early on, I considered buying it on PSN because it seemed like a game I like to platinum. But you have to play it multiple times, including finishing in 10 hours, killing each dungeon boss with the broom, and then killing them without getting hit. Parentheses, since you can't replay bosses, that'd be a massive pain. Sounds like it. Sounds like a terrible trophy list. I hate it when people do this. They think they're making a really challenging one, but really it's just making you like, why would I do that? Also, I wish there had been some end game content, maybe a boss rush mode to help with those achievements. Interesting take. Fair. The DLC that is released right now is paid. I believe it's $6.99 on PC on Steam. What I saw. The difficulty curve seems slightly off. Dungeons 3 and 4 were much faster to get through than 1 and 2. I've noticed that personally as well. Again, I'm on Dungeon 3, and I feel like Dungeons 1 and 2 I really grinded in for a long time. Whereas 3, I do feel like I could, like I said, I could clown it out right now if I wanted to, but I don't because I'm a weirdo. The quests seem to encourage you to rerun previous dungeons, and while they're a cool idea, by the time you get to them, you don't have much need. You can't seem to wishlist the items you need for quests. Another great point where I have not completed one of the quests. If you're unfamiliar, you run your shop, you come back with your spoils, you put them up, people come and buy them, people will come and try to steal them, so you have to pay attention to what people want. You're paying attention if you've overpriced stuff, if you've underpriced stuff. There's all these little mini things happening. However, on top of that, eventually you'll get to a point where people will come in and come to a separate side of the register and give you quests, which will be, hey, I need 10 of these fruit, I need 9 of these crystals or whatever, and you have to then go get them, and it gives you a certain number of days. It'll see it on your calendar. Cool in theory. I've never been motivated to go do it because I'm making so much money from the rest of the stuff. I'm with Katie of like, why would I go back to these old places and get all that old stuff when I know the new stuff I can get more money than what this person's even offering me, it seems, to go get it. So I just ignore them. Some minor issues, Katie says. There was nothing to explain the companions, parentheses, which were apparently added later. So I had to Google to understand. Wish they'd had someone or a sign by their pen to explain, like they do with all the shops. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what companions you're talking about. I saw the companions that can come in the dungeon with me? Is what you're saying? I don't talk to any of the NPCs outside of the ones I've unlocked in the blacksmith, potion shop, banker, you know what I mean? The weird guy who sells other goods, my competitor, but only when I'm really desperate. I didn't even realize I could have companions in there. So again, if that's what you're saying, Katie, yes. Huge problem there in terms of side posting. Sometimes my items don't auto-collect in my bag, meaning I think I'm full when I'm not, and I need to manually put these 2 with those 3. Yeah, that is an interesting, I've seen that too, of like, okay, cool, like you can stack items together, but if you're not paying attention sometimes, yeah, you'll think you have, I have 2 max stacks, when in reality you have 2 over here, 3 over there that should be combined on their own, but don't for some reason. The frame rate drops really low across the middle of the town every time I go to or from the apothecary, although that might just be my Xbox slowly dying. Haven't seen it on Switch, so it's possible. I hate those large pink, orange, blue blobs. Either the controls aren't sharp enough or I'm just rubbish at dodging their jumps. Oh yeah, you're talking about the ones that jump at you and encapsulate you in their goo, like in their Dippin' Dots stuff. Agree with you that they are annoying. I am able now to dodge roll out of their way usually and slash them, but I can understand where that would get you. And although it wouldn't impact the main gameplay loop, I would have liked to be able to decorate / reskin the shop, rugs, paint, etc. And that would give me more of a reason to chase the extra money from quests. Yeah, I'm fine with the shop. For me, it's always about getting the next big shop, and then it's also just a means to the end to make me more powerful to get me back in the dungeon. I think it's a cool power leveling mechanic. Jericho chimes in, of course. I watched a stream of Twitch of this game. I never heard of it, never seen it, and there it is, hypnotizing me. About a month later, it was E3 week, and I got Game Pass and played Moonlighter on PC. This game is awesome. I love the little things of the inventory management that make you at least think a bit about what to take with you, what you should leave behind, and what kind of effects items could have on other ones because they're cursed or swap out to a better new thing. Another great point I haven't talked about. Obviously, in the beginning, you're playing through the first dungeon. You're just collecting stuff, shoving in your bag, kind of forgetting about it. As you continue to go on, you'll start to pick up things that have question marks on them, so it won't be revealed till you leave the dungeon. So you have to, do I want this or do I want that other item that I know I can sell? Do I take a chance on this? Other ones will have arrows on them that, shooting off, to the upper left, upper right, whatever, or to the left or right, up or down. That'll, it's going to change this item into something. You can take this item, but it's going to destroy whatever item is up left. So suddenly it is now a real inventory management balancing act, right? Of deciding what you want, where you want it, trying to play this like grid Tetris, right? To get as much on each run as you can, make as much money when you get out. Jericho continues. This and the way the scale of your collected items work is so addicting. You want to go on another dungeon run, get the stuff you sold way too cheap, and get way too expensive. Just so you get the perfect price. It's more like a collection game than anything really. There's a lot of question marks in Moonlighter, and you want to know what's behind those. Well said. Rebuilding the small town you're in was a bit too quick for my taste. I also never go to any of those stores, maybe I should, I don't know, other than to craft new weapons. Upgrading your house/store feels a bit too slow. I wish it was the other way around. Not a big deal though. Yeah, I was foolishly for a while saving all my money, being like, I'm just gonna upgrade the store, and then I went to do it, and it was like, oh no, you're not high enough level, meaning I had to beat the next dungeon to open up that level of the store, and I was like, oh, okay, and that's when I went and invested in all the beds and all the different things and all the bells and whistles to make more money to be stronger and stuff to that effect. Battling is simple, but you have to learn the patterns of the enemies to get better dungeon runs. It's nothing where you have to think too hard, but there is definitely a challenge. Moonlighter is a game that I always wanted but never got until now. It's also a perfect game, parentheses, although I don't have it on Switch, for when you travel. Quickly go in a dungeon or have sale day. Pause the game, go back in later. That can be done in like 10 minutes. Awesome. Yep, you can get in there and make a lot of progress in a little bit of time. Jan Ivar Carlson writes in to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and spelled his name phonetically, so I wouldn't be stupid, Greg. I had fun with the game for a while. I think I actually enjoyed the merchant part the most. It was satisfying to monitor the customers, to figure out the best prices, and to hover around the thieves and tackle them ASAP. My main criticism is about the death system. When you only get to keep the top line of items in your inventory if you don't warp out before dying. It doesn't encourage the player to take risks because the penalty is so high. This is where the comparison to Rogue Legacy I heard really falls apart for me. There it was thrilling to clear a room when you were low on health, and when you had to, and when you finally did die, you got to spend all the money you had gathered on fun new upgrades, making nearly every run feel like progress. While dying in Moonlighter always felt like a punch to the stomach. But that is it, dude. I disagree totally, right? Let me take a sip of water.
Take that sip, Greg.
That is the risk reward of it. I disagree 100%, where I had it so many times of like, all right, cool, I'm down to my last potion. I know I'm getting close to the boss. I have a pretty full inventory, but I'm cleaning up right now, and I know all these different orbs I'm getting are going to be worth $1 million out there. Do I go to the next room, or do I evacuate now? Or do I, eventually you get the amulet that you can evacuate out and leave the portal to come back in that way, right where you left off. And so for me, it was totally oh man, I gotta go in there. And then the times when I did get in there and I did start getting overwhelmed, I was like, oh, fuck. Pop the potion a bunch and then hold the button and hope you don't get hit because you have to stop moving to actually warp yourself out. I really liked that. And I hear what you're saying, of course, Rogue Legacy, but I think that was part of Rogue Legacy, right? Dying was so important in Rogue Legacy of now you have a new character. Now what are their abilities gonna be? How's that gonna go? Whereas in Moonlighter, you have to have the same character coming back, the same shop keep coming back. I liked the risk of, man, I'm having a great run and I have so much stuff. Do I push it? I don't know. I've never faced the final boss before here. Do I push it for this dungeon? Do I go see what's in the next room? Do I just get the hell out of here and play it safe? And I am a coward, so I usually play it safe. Hence why I've put a lot of hours in this game and haven't been beating it, but still I'm having a great time. Continue on with Yawn. I got to the last boss in the second dungeon a few times before I quit. I was clearing the rest of the dungeon with no problems, but was getting annihilated by the boss. So I would need to grind the easy mobs in the dungeon again and again to avoid all the new gear afford all the gear I needed. On a side note, is there any chance the community could be involved in selecting the game for the month? You should probably still have the final say, but I think it would encourage people to get more involved if voting or something similar was part of the selection process. So, before we get to that, second dungeon, get to the boss, grinding out. I remember that boss. I remember getting there too and being like, oof, I need to work harder. But again, that was motivating for me personally. That's what I want out of that game. Again, I think it's similar to, Katie talking about the final boss. Hi, Matt Scarpino. Love you. It was the idea that for me, it's totally about the journey and not the destination. So I don't, even when I see the final boss, I'll sometimes fuck with them just to see what it's like, but then I'll run the hell off because I just want to be like, I want to see how powerful I need to be to fight you. And I really always just want to get the max sword and shield, the max armor, the max bow and arrow before I get in there. But I hear you, and I totally get that this isn't a game for everybody. On your side note, is there any chance the community could be involved in selecting the game for the month? Highly doubtful. I think the reason the video game club works is that it needs to not feel like homework. So if it's one of those things we put it up and you all pick game X that none of us really have a affinity for, then it's a struggle. I guess a way to do it would be, hey, next week or next month, it could be Marvel Ultimate Alliance, it could be Mario Maker, it could be etc. And it's games we're already playing, so it is that thing like, it could be Wolfenstein because Nick's going to go play that. That could work, but again, I think we have to factor in schedules, right? Where if you pick me, then it's going to be harder for me to get in here, whereas if you pick Andy, it might be easier and stuff like that. It's something to keep in mind, and as let's get we're not, like I said earlier in the show, I don't think we're on track with the primary show as it is, with the vanilla version of the show. Before we get nuts with it, let's figure that out. But I thank you for the feedback. We have questions now. I call them club member questions, of course, if you want to be part of this, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Steven Gibson gets the first one and says, if I didn't like Stardew Valley, will I not like Moonlighter? I've enjoyed the roguelike games before, like Rogue Legacy, but the comparison of Moonlighter to Stardew has put me off. Personally, I think you'll be fine because I don't enjoy Stardew Valley. And I understand why Joey loves it and why Jen loves it, and I get all that. It's just not for me. For me, it is too much micromanagement, right? It is doing things I'm not all that interested in. I think Moonlighter does a great job of giving you two things to be interested in, right? Hey, do you want to go fight in dungeons? And hey, do you want to sell your spoils? On top of that, there's the, action RPG stuff of, cool, you're tracking these items to do this. But for me, if there was a thing of like, okay, cool, you also have a field of wheat and corn and you need to, husbandry these animals and sell, and like that'd be a bit too much for me. The fact that it really is go fight, sell your spoils, keep the stuff you really need to upgrade your character, that's enough for me, where I'm like, okay, cool. And then the extra shops they introduce, they do it fine. The companions that I've never seen or heard of in the game, apparently, according to Katie, a different system that apparently you don't even need. That's from me, Greg Miller, who doesn't even need it. I haven't beaten the game because I've hit a wall. I haven't beaten the game because I'm milking it for every goddamn hour it's worth. Brian K says, how is the pacing of the game? Are there any parts where you hit a wall and had to stop and grind? Or is the progression pretty natural? I can't speak to the end of it. You've heard it already, I think, it was Katie saying that the dungeons 3 and 4 go quicker than 1 and 2, which I have noticed that 3 does seem to be a lot easier than the other ones. But again, I'm more powerful. I digress. There's definitely bosses I ran into where I'm just like, I'm clearly not strong enough to do this in a way that with my own fat fingers and inability to dodge certain things, like I need to get out of here and go. But I didn't grind for like 4 hours. You know what I mean? I went out and ran the dungeon a few more times, sold more stuff, made more money, upgraded this. Oh, that's cool. Then found the last item I needed to go do this. Like I didn't feel at any point that I was like stuck, like, oh fuck, there's no way to get through this. Brian K continues, as far as weapons are concerned, which is your primary and secondary? Like I said, primary sword and shield, secondary elements, or I'm reading ahead on you, arrows. And then he says, are the elemental weapons a bit better versus the standard ones, or are they just a matter of preference? I'm the kind of gamer that once I find what I like, I don't switch. Like I don't want to use crafting materials on items I'm not going to use. So I want to pour it all into my sword and shield. I want to pour it all in. Just using sword and shield, just using archery. I've been having a great time, feeling powerful, and I haven't, again, run into anything where I'm like, fuck, I need something else. Do you feel like the second, and this is still Brian K, do you feel like the second floor mini bosses are significantly more difficult than they should be, or am I just bad at games? It seems like the first and last bosses of each dungeon are relatively easy, but the one in the middle seems to kill me more often than not. I feel like for sure the first boss is usually pretty easy and it's just a matter of power, and then eventually when you get there, it's just, you take them out 2 seconds, right? The middle one I think is always more of a struggle because it's usually an iteration of the first. Like, okay, now the tree's, spitting out acid or whatever. And then I always found the last boss to be the most hard because it just had so much going on, whether, I'm dodging tree limbs, I'm dodging lasers, all these different things. But I think it's just a matter of preference and what you may or may not be good at. And then final question. Comes from Nathan Norman. Hey, Greg. After hearing how much you were enjoying Moonlighter, I decided to finally give it a shot. I, too, quickly became hooked. Both parts to the game, the dungeon crawling and the running shop, were paired in such a satisfying way. Personally, I think that this game could be built upon in many interesting ways if there were to do a sequel. The amount of upgrades for the town and shop left me wanting more, so I'd like to see more available on that end. What would you like to see from a sequel to this gem? Hashtag KFAF for streamies. That's a bullshit hashtag. That's a great question. What would you want to see more of from this game, right? I'm trying to think of... I want more, not customization, but I guess more avenues to feel more powerful, if that makes sense. Like, it's a big deal, right, when I get to the next sword level or the next arrow level. But even that, like granted, there's the enchantments, right, that we didn't even talk about when you go down to the potion lady. When I finally figured that out, not that it was something, but it's like, okay, cool, I'm pouring everything into leveling up the weapon or getting the things to build the next weapon. And then when I was over there, it's like, oh, these are the buffs I can apply to the weapons as well, and they're permanent. That's fucking great and brilliant and such. It's not video game bullshit, where I was afraid, even when like sleeping in the bed's gonna give you the 3 extra shields. I'm like, fuck, is that only gonna last for one sleep? And it's like, no, it lasts for pretty much forever. I'm like, yeah, great. Out of a sequel, what would I like? More of the same, I guess, but like I'm saying, I'd like more avenues to feel more power. I think it'd be cool if I could apply those, if I could go to the potion lady and apply the elemental stuff there, if there was more of a, not bullshit about it, but it's like clearly this You know, I mean, I have a super sword or whatever I'm already using, but I get into something and it is, man, everybody's taking a lot of hits, but if I went off on a side quest, if the side quest mattered, right, to go figure out how to get an ice elemental attack that I can apply permanently to my sword, right, and switch on, switch off, that would be cool. Something to that effect of using what you already have, but giving them added buffs or debuffs, I guess, on it. Maybe maybe another pro and con situation where I'm in a dungeon full of flaming dudes, right? But if I can put the ice buff on, then it's going to hurt them more, but I have to do it in a time limit because I'm melting or something weird like that. That'd be fun. Some twist on it, right? Because dungeon after dungeon, it is pretty much the same, right? Like you are just rolling in there and doing the same moves. Different enemies, maybe there's iterating on the enemies, but something like that to keep it spicy would be good. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the video game club for Moonlighter. Seems like everybody who wrote in liked it. I'm glad. I'm glad you liked it. Again, shout out to Katie for making it happen. Had such a great time with it. It's going to be one of those annoying games on my Giant Bomb Game of the Year list, I'm sure. For like, what's the top 10 games of this year? I'm going to be like, Moonlighter. Yeah, came out last year, but I couldn't put it down this year. I love it so much. Of course, I already said it. Next month is Mario Maker 2 on the Nintendo Switch. For sure, going to be Tim. Probably going to be Barrett and Andy, I assume, too. You'll have a full-on podcast in here. Of course, Joey Noel's supposed to play Moonlighter. Didn't.
Wow.
Too addicted to her stupid Harry Potters and her Legos. You know what I mean? God forbid she put down Lego Tower.
I know.
You know what I mean, Barrett?
I do know what you mean.
Sometimes I question her dedication to this job. But ladies and gentlemen, I never question your dedication to Kinda Funny. Thank you for being a supporter on patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Remember, each and every month you get the video game club for just $1. We put it up, MP3 and video, sometimes really late, but we get it to you. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.